Good to see you, Ross.
You as well. How you doing?
What a time
What a time
to be alive.
Are you excited about something? Is there something big happening this
It's
weekend?
not an appropriate adjective.
Okay, we got to level it up a little bit.
Apoplectic.
Are you nervous?
Delusional.
Ooh, I don't know, dude. I think you guys got a good shot.
No, I guess deluded, like living in a world that doesn't exist, alternate universe, parallel universe, alternate reality.
You're in the NFL football multiverse. You know?
I mean, I'm looking just up at that board. It's so surreal to see 4 teams left.
Yeah, what a year. Is Jaden Daniels Doctor Strange?
I'm not a Marvel guy.
Okay, well, fine. Thanks for playing along.
No, actually, I did see the first Strange.
I'd say
There's a couple Marvels.
He's more like Captain America. Nothing? Iron Man?
I
Hulk?
can't give you anything.
Is he the Hulk?
I can't give you anything on Marvel references. I can give you Severance references. You watch Severance?
Oh, no. Dude,
I was up till 5 a.m. last night because Living Directors podcast is launching tomorrow.
Sick. Let's go.
Let me just plug that real quick up top.
Smart.
Me and Amy D, a brilliant meme account holder of gigantic accounts, and she's got her finger on the pulse, and she's super smart. And
Cool.
she's helped me begin the process of trying to make a independent film, which is going to take fucking forever. Learned a lot about that. But she's going to be on with me. We're going on YouTube, and we're going to talk about Severance Season 2 live. We're not live, but like day of. So episodes come out Friday. We're watching that episode in the morning, recording at 1 like we record the sports podcast, except on Fridays. And then we'll have it out 6 p.m. Friday, Severance Season 2, Episode 2, tomorrow. I'm very excited.
Yeah, dude. Don't know her, want to meet her.
Yes. I mean, dude. The gratitude I feel for being able to work with you and her and my friend Corey Hunt. We got a 3rd show coming soon. It's just like fucking all-star team of minds and podcasting.
That's cool, dude. You got something good going. The Ahlswede Collection.
Well, what I learned with directing is that you're nothing without the actor. I'm nothing without the co-host. So it's all,
Thanks,
it's all
bro,
you.
but
You can start to push me for a paycheck here soon. I need you.
Come on, man. I'm in it for fun, man. Well, those days will come, dude.
Yeah. You were out of town?
Yeah.
We missed the pod yesterday. You were
Yeah. Co-host MIA. Kind of a late scheduled trip down to handle some business with the great Odyssey teams in Palm Springs. It was fun. We had a great program, great event, really quick trip there and back. And yeah, it was amazing. We do a build-a-hand program where participants take 32 pieces of metal and plastic in groups of 3 or 4, and these pieces turn into a prosthetic hand that's in the Smithsonian for modern innovation in design as well as like execution. It's very simple, but it's very manageable for potential amputees and recipients to use. And it's incredible how it comes together. It takes about an hour to build. And there's more than 85,000 of these hands on amputees in third world countries that don't have access to prosthetics. So the companies we work for fund the experience, but then the hands are turned around and donated to recipients in these countries free of charge. And we have a distribution network that takes care of finding the recipients. And it's really an impactful event. It's filled with metaphors and lessons and values that help participants relate the experience back to their work every day. So, how are you taking care of your customer? Sort of, are you passionate and inspired about your work? Kind of that sort of thing. Are you thinking about all the pieces and parts that go into your sort of daily activities and taking care of those around you? And yeah, I got to watch the great Bill John, who's the president and CEO of Odyssey Teams, the company I work for, facilitate the program. Does such a wonderful job. Lane Hensley's a co-owner. He's in town here in Chico, and just an incredible individual, super inspiring and passionate. And they've got the motivational speak down and do great keynotes. And
you mentioned AI at the beginning of last pod. Does this have anything to do with that, or was that something totally separate?
No, it's totally separate. We're exploring, kind of like a lot of companies nowadays, sort of exploring, how to use AI. The prosthetic hand we build is not a 3D printed hand. It's a physical, hand that has a lot of components and elements and parts that come together. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. It seems inevitable that we're going to mention some things outside of sports every podcast.
Yeah.
The world's just too complex right now to not do that. And it almost feels, there's almost like a bit of a guilt, like I'm just going to focus on sports nowadays. Like it's the whole bread and circus thing of like where you're ignoring what's going on in the world. I'm not cynical like that. I think sports are incredibly important and valuable inherently and like in the full spectrum. So I don't believe that they're just bread and circus, but I don't know. I mean, I do like to put a little time into what's going on in the world. Maybe we should like give a positive AI or a positive tech note at the beginning. Like everybody's terrified of this. Here's why it's great.
Yeah.
The future of prosthetic limbs.
Yeah.
The future of medical technology with AI. Very, very exciting stuff there.
Yeah.
So we got to keep it positive, baby.
Yeah. Well, in the spirit of what you're saying, I really appreciated the. I wouldn't call it a rant. I thought it was more powerful than a rant.
Oh, wow.
But I really appreciated your insight and your perspective into kind of the state that the country's in and, politics last episode. And that didn't have much to do with sports. So
No.
That was cool. It was cool.
Separated. The thing is, like, I'm two people. I'm the one that understands how serious these things are and that nothing is more serious, and so I'll do my job to relay information that I think is important, that I think maybe people aren't getting, stuff like that, because just taking in information is what we talk about, is the challenge in knowing what's good information and what isn't. Right? So I'll always do my work there, I guess, through social media.
Yeah.
In person, though, I've found that it's incredibly important to just never talk about, because
So
you don't want to
hard.
ruin relationships.
It's hard,
So you have
man.
to compartmentalize. And
Yeah.
that's what I use the internet for. It's like the internet's where my writer brain goes.
Right.
And physical world is where my friend loving, like, let's just get drunk. I know I said that before. Which you've seen me do the past 2 weekends.
Yeah.
We should have
not bad though.
a drunk Derek segment at the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like you're making the listeners feel like it was a sloppy affair, but we were just chilling, watching the game, having a couple brews.
No, you're fine. Yeah, I just
you were too.
get after it.
Hold on though, like smart approach to not have those like conversations that can potentially create even more division right now. It's
the only way
a
I've survived.
fragile topic, dude. Like it's tough to talk politics with people nowadays that have different views. It just is.
Just don't do it. And also, end of the day, like, what purpose are you really serving if you and one other person are fighting over something?
Yeah.
You kind of, like, nothing's really going to be resolved. So if you really want to do it, you have to take it to a professional level, which is technically what this is, or or utilize your whatever platform, however small or big it is, to put out messages. The one-on-one talk is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Don't do it. That said, if someone is saying like overtly racist stuff, which I think we might come across now more, overtly sexist stuff, overtly homophobic stuff,
not cool.
I mean, punching a Nazi is ethical to many people.
You think that might get to that
I don't
point.
want to promote violence, but like,
it could.
well, you also, I will never promote violence, but it's just like a kind of a term. Like it's okay to punch a Nazi, like a real Nazi, someone that is an evil person that wants to round up millions of people and kill them. And like, you don't want those people to feel too comfortable in society. God damn, this got way serious. So it's delicate, but just hold people's feet to the fire.
Yeah.
Don't allow people to say reckless things. If they want to go off in these like kind of and get violent energy, that's on them.
Yeah.
Okay. But just say something. And if somebody takes it there, then they're the criminal now that's committing assault. I don't know, man. It's crazy. I feel like we really need to have this conversation.
Yeah,
now.
no, I think you're right. I hope it doesn't get to that point. But we'll see. Do you think it's okay to punch a Philadelphia Eagles fan?
Just the guy that was talking to that man's wife. last week.
Yeah. See, I tried to transition.
All right, let's get up here. Okay.
I got your back, dude.
Been doing the detailed outlines the last few weeks. It's important. I like that. But also, it's like, let's just get to the free flow, no paper in hand, bro.
All right.
and it's easier to do now with less games.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's just go through them. Houston KC, what are the big things that came out of that game for you?
Man, Patrick Mahomes just having like this ability to convince everybody on the field that he is under assault. You know, it's like it's literally a skill to flail, to just kind of have like the right sort of body control, just snapping the neck when the head isn't hit, you know, like
We're like,
he fools so many people. It's a skill though, bro. It's like flopping in basketball almost. You know what I'm saying? Like it's super annoying to the fan, but the way that he sort of managed that element in the game totally put it in Kansas City's favor. And it's frustrating.
yeah, I mean, there are malignant skills. It's like, just because it's a skill doesn't mean it's fucking good. I'm not talking to you. I'm just talking about because like
right.
This has been kind of a narrative. It's like,
yeah,
dude. Okay, so Mahomes. I'm really curious about his character as a man.
Interesting.
Like, is he a bad person? Because there are certain like, look, I guess like win by any means necessary, sure, but like. I don't know. You see him like, and I think what really kind of drove it home was when he lost to Allen this year. It was this year, right? Yeah.
Yep.
And they meet midfield, and he like barely even shakes hands, like fucking bullshit call.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he's like
he did
crying
do
over
that
call. When the irony of him complaining over a bullshit call, like it gives me chills. Like just thinking about like what type of person he is, and like, dude, I was insanely competitive when I played.
Yeah.
Like, so I utilized certain things where like if I was captain, I went out there in midfield. Like I wouldn't smile. I would fucking like death stare to try to maybe get an edge, right? Especially if it was like the quarterback of the team or whatever. So like, but the things he does, it just fits in line with this kind of, I don't know even what to say. This like kind of privileged mentality. You know,
he's got a little bit of Jackson Mahomes in him.
Well, apple didn't fall far from the tree, right? I don't know, dude. I don't know if he's a great person. Dude.
That's quite an accusation.
It is, but dude, the whole world hates the Chiefs now.
Yeah.
So like, I'm certainly not alone in this. There's an army of us now that are done with them. It's just such a thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
it really is.
Brady's Patriots didn't come close to this when it came to like hate. Like there's hating somebody because they keep winning, and then there's hating somebody because of like their mentality and behavior.
Yeah.
Who is also continuing to win.
Yeah.
So there's a difference there, and that's I think my big point is like Patriots are not the Chiefs in terms of like why we hate them.
Yeah, but my thought process with that is the Patriots got humbled. And I know that the Chiefs lost to Brady and the Bucks, but that was a long time ago. They've won 2 Super Bowls since then. They're on the way to potentially a 3rd this year. And it feels like
5 in a row.
They get so many calls. And this is 7 straight AFC Championship games for them. So they've got this like, we're so sick of you feeling for all of us. And they continue to still get away with these calls. They continue to still get the favorable, approach from the refs, and that's what's so annoying.
Well, it's that, and it's the literal flopping now. Like it's one thing to like be able to draw a roughing the passer penalty, but like when you're that blatant attempt at a flop that he wasn't successful at going out of bounds. That opened a lot of people's eyes too. Like they're just lines being crossed here.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, honestly, focused on Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But if we do win, I want the Chiefs. I don't want the Bills.
Okay.
I want fucking Mahomes.
Okay.
I want.
Fire me up.
I'm breaking my rule already. I'm talking about the Super Bowl. I should not be talking about the Super Bowl. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Yeah, we're not talking about that.
Yeah, I can't do that yet. I want to, but I can't. Let's do a Joe Mazzulla Award for Make Basketball More Like Cricket. A rule change potentially that we see out there.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a running bit. We have a few running bits.
Yeah. I like it.
Review penalties.
Yeah. I think they're going to get there.
Has to get there next week.
Yeah.
They do it in basketball now all the time. It's like,
yeah,
it's so consequential because it fucking happens on 3rd and 10 every time for them.
Yeah.
On this horrible throw that no one had a chance at, and they're getting first downs. Like it's infuriating.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, the competition committee is definitely gonna make some alterations to that process. I think picking up the flag is really important in this scenario. You know, when like you can see the replay that Will Anderson's helmet did not come in contact with Mahomes like the back ref thought it did, even though he didn't have great depth perception and still threw the flag.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can buzz down. You've got the communication.
Mm-hmm.
The technology's available. You can do, sometimes it happens too. Like sometimes they'll be like, you know, after further review, we picked up the flag, but sometimes it doesn't happen. So we need like more consistency here. And in the wake of what just transpired this weekend, I guarantee you they're going to make some changes, which is going to be good.
Yeah.
But definitely Joe Mazzulla award that. We need to figure out a better way to handle this.
I wonder if we'll see almost an immediate slight change this week.
I hope so.
A little bit of a backlash.
Good call.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully. The other Joe Mazzulla award, same game. A lot of people confused by this, and because a point spread was involved, they're like, "Oh, the NFL so obviously rigged." The punter running out of the back of the end zone.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand what that is.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with this coaching tactic?
Well, sure. So you want to run as much time off the clock as you can, and then take the 2 points. As long as the other team, if they score and get a 2-point conversion, they're not going to be able to tie. Right. So
as long as the 2 is inconsequential. So in this case, it still puts you up by 9. So a 2-score game. 2-score game.
You're fine.
But the point is that it's when you're really backed up. This looked a little confusing because they were on like the 20 or the 15. Okay. Usually people do it when they're on like the 2.
Yeah.
Right? So you don't risk a blocked punt, touchdown.
Right.
You just take the 2 points, and that pushes you out now for a free kick so you can push them back further. Yeah. That's just for people that don't understand what that is. The fact that it coincided with the point spread was hilarious.
It was. Bad beat of the year on SVP.
So that's great. As far as the Texans, I texted you. Will Anderson.
Yeah,
he ended up being my favorite defensive player of the year after last week.
He's a monster. Danielle Hunter, they get after the quarterback. They got good corners.
Oh, here's the stat. Another infuriating stat. The Texans had 100 more yards than the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And no turnovers.
Yeah.
I don't know if this was a playoff record or whatever. Teams that had that were 49-0.
Oh, my gosh.
Until...
Fascinating.
I don't know how far back or if that was just playoffs or that's regular season too. I don't know. So... For the first time in 49 games, that team that did that lost.
Oh.
Might just be playoff only. I didn't check that.
Okay, no, that's a great stat right there, dude. That's fascinating. Well, it just goes to show you that, Houston played really well, and they were kind of like in control of the game. I felt like they should have been up more at halftime, and they must have been really upset that they weren't. It kind of had one of those vibes, and there was literally 2 or 3 calls that changed the whole complexion of that game that went in the Chiefs' favor like it always does.
Different levels of frustration. There's like the Texans' frustration last week where it was like calls. They kind of were in the game for a long time despite what the score was.
Especially the first half.
Yeah. That Texans' frustration, just different. It's just like a defeated, just refs keep popping in your mind, right?
Yeah.
Or like hate for the Chiefs. The Vikings' frustration is just like, what the fuck happened? Just kind of a shell shock thing.
Yeah.
The Lions' frustration is just fucking instant gut punch, no warning. So it's interesting to see these different levels of frustration.
Oh, dude, what a game that was!
All right, let's talk about it. We watched it.
Yeah.
Shout out to Bellas and Chico.
Yeah, it was fun.
And Josh. Everything that could go right went right.
Yeah.
It was the crazy thing about that though is there were definitely some games this season where that was the case against weaker teams where I felt like everything that can go right is going right and we'd win 40-7 against the Panthers or the Browns or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even like the Bengals early win, like it was like things are going right for us, and a lot of that has to do with the insane fourth down conversion rate.
Dan Quinn is
like things feel like they're going right when you're converting on fourth all the time. But this was like We haven't had a defensive game like this close all year.
Yeah.
We're notoriously had no picks and turnovers all year. So just for that to happen in the most important game of basically our lives, or say our, because I'm on the team.
Yeah.
It was just like miraculous.
Yeah.
So
that's a really good point. I didn't really think about it from that perspective, that Washington's defense really stepped up, sacked Goff, forced a big fumble on that play, and then got a couple picks.
What are the main things that stand out to you from that game, the aftermath of that game?
Well, in doing a little bit of research and kind of thinking about watching that game, I think the Lions did something that Philadelphia may benefit from in this next matchup, and that is that they tried to blitz Jaden Daniels. They blitzed a lot, and I feel like that's not the way to go after Jaden. He'll carve you up. You'd probably be better to spy a little bit and only rush 4. Detroit's obviously suffered from a lot of injuries to their defensive line and other guys on defense. They're missing so many. So I think that kind of caught up to them. A few weeks ago, you saw the Niners put up a lot of points against Detroit in the regular season.
Dude, you nailed that.
And I think when you have a guy like Jaden and you have an offense like the Commanders that's really well balanced right now, and a quarterback that can dissect you and also run, it creates a lot of problems. And don't blitz him, because he'll carve you up. And that's what I think. That's my takeaway.
Yeah, it does seem like Kingsbury has an answer for anything, though.
Yeah,
so
good point.
you got the run pass option, you got the no huddle. It's like, okay, don't blitz. Then we'll just run for 5 yards every time with Robinson and Eckler. It's like, so, I've never. I don't. It's not like I expect to win this Sunday. I see. It still feels like a daunting, very, very difficult task. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we're 5.5-point underdogs still. Looks like the weather's going to be okay.
Ooh, that bodes well for Washington.
I mean, on Monday they were saying it was going to be 40 degrees and clear. So, that said, though, we'll get to that. By the way, the weather. I wouldn't be mad if it was cold or snowy. Like, bring it.
Oh, okay.
Let's see how Jaden does in this environment too. Mm-hmm. So, what was I going to say? I don't know. Yeah, we can.
You mentioned Kingsbury. One play comes to mind that was obviously Kingsbury and Jaden on the right page communication-wise, and it was the quick out to McLaurin, who just took off down the sideline, and that was a blitz when the DB, I think it was in the slot, came off the edge, and Jaden was like, "Oh, cool. I'm going to throw it out here to Terry. We got a blocker. He's got to beat one guy. See ya." And he did that. And it's like Kingsbury probably knew exactly what was happening and called that play, or Jaden may have checked down or audibled or did something. But the way that they're operating right now and putting him in position to succeed is amazing. Like, Cliff deserves a lot of credit. You're right.
Yeah, I hope we don't lose him this offseason.
Dude,
I don't think we will, especially if we don't win it this year. He'll come back. But
the Raiders.
So here's the Daniels comparisons are nuts.
Okay.
Before we've compared him to Brady and just like utilize the weapons you have. Doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
He has some kind of Mahomes comparisons, and like he's winning right away. He's that level of kind of excitement and talent, right?
Yeah.
And then there's Aaron Rodgers comparisons, and that you don't hear this a lot. And Aaron's talked about how much you have to do in like a couple seconds when you get to the line, and how much your brain's actually taking it, and that's where intelligence comes into being a great quarterback. You hear like coaches talk about check downs or checking your reads, right?
Yeah.
The real skill is you got 4 or 5 options out there. How quickly can you identify what the best one is?
Yeah.
That's what separates the greats.
Totally.
That's what Manning could do. That's what Andrew Luck could do. And several others, but that's what he does so well. And as long as he keeps doing that,
it's hard.
Just like this podcast, as long as we keep putting out reels and episodes, you're going to be successful.
Yeah.
Like, it's just going to be successful.
The mentality, he goes through his progression so fast.
Were you familiar with his use of VR? Have you seen some of those stories?
I read a little bit about that. Very cool.
So I knew about this a long time ago, and I'm pissed we never brought it up as like a segment to talk about because
we're doing it now.
That's brilliant. The fact that it speeds, it's the speeding up of the game through the VR.
Right. Genius.
Come on.
Like, why isn't everybody doing this?
That's my only take from this is like, really? Jaden's the first guy? Like,
so smart though.
Literally, why wouldn't every team have been doing this? If one person's doing it, then everybody should know to do this.
Yeah.
You wonder about the aptitudes and ineptitudes of coaching staffs at the highest level because we just assume they're the best of the best.
Yeah.
Maybe some of them just still aren't.
Yeah. There's a few that get put in these positions and their last 1 year.
Yeah. Okay, on that note, any other Washington Lions takeaways? I mean, yeah, their skill players on defense just weren't very good. Their secondary was not good.
Carved.
So
yeah, there was one ball.
Goff 3 picks.
Yeah, there was one ball that Jane threw. It was kind of like a deep post, but he just I think De'Ami Brown like caught inside. It was such a dime.
Yeah.
And that play just pops into my mind.
It's Rodgers-esque.
Like I want to watch that highlight again because it was such a beautiful pass.
He's Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, and Brady in one.
All one.
But like he kind of is though.
The guy's got little bits and pieces of each of their games.
Insane
thing.
And I've been saying that all year. What did I want to say about that? I think we're good there.
The Lions. It's interesting how they can be neutralized, I think, which is another takeaway. Going into next year, they're obviously going to be a good team again. Mm-hmm. But I think Washington provided a little bit of a blueprint of how to beat them. First of all,
have a genius quarterback.
Yeah, well, and you have to like, what do you think Dan Campbell was thinking as Dan Quinn just like 4th and 2, 4th and 3, go for it. Like so many times throughout that game, Dan was pulling a Dan. And he was kind of like shoving it right back in Campbell's face. And Campbell looked dejected walking on the sideline a few times after the defense gave up the first down. So I think like coaching wise, like we're going to be just as aggressive as you. And I loved that. And
a lot of teams are doing that on 4th down now. The whole game has changed in that way. I had Dan versus Dan as my freaking second segment last week, and I forgot to get to it until the very end. But that's what you heard pretty much all Monday and Tuesday was that he beat him at his own game.
Yeah.
Right? Commanders beat the Lions at their own game.
And while there are a lot of teams that are going with the analytics and they're more aggressive now on 4th and short, in my memory, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like Campbell was kind of the one that started the trend of always going for it.
Yeah. Just a year or two ago,
Yeah. So, and now Quinn's like, what's up, bro?
It was a full I think the analytics have kind of been there now. Like that goes hand in hand on like when you go for 2 and when you don't, when you go for 4th and when you don't. That's all changed now.
Yeah.
So the analytics have kind of been there for maybe 5 years, but coaches were still a little hesitant to really go all in like the 2 Dans.
Yeah, hey Dan, hold my beer.
I would shout out maybe this is my put some respect on his name award this week.
Okay.
I don't know who the other defensive rookie of the year candidates are. I know Sam Still is in the conversation. He had a beautiful game in a huge moment. He stepped up. Going into Michigan, by the way, where he won a natty last year.
Oh, sick.
Like, that dude is amazing.
Yeah, he had a good game.
If I'm not obviously as excited about him as Daniels, but, like, it's not as far off as some may think. Just, like, I'm that excited about him as a guy on our defense moving forward. So, love him. So they're in Detroit, right? Do you know what Buffs are? Sunglasses called Buffs?
Never heard of them.
I think it's some local Detroit thing.
Okay.
It's a cool thing in Detroit.
Okay.
Maybe mostly in the black community in Detroit too.
Okay.
So what Sam Still did with the team is they went out and they all bought Buffs before the game. And then they put them on after the win and people were like, and they were just like doing their just kind of, we're wearing your shit. We just beat you. But people were like, wait a second. They bought these before the game. Like, they were that confident.
Yeah.
And then to put him on, and then the heartbreak because I'm a U of M fan. I have family there, so that's my college team.
Okay.
Which is also why I love San Francisco so much. So just the pain and the hurt. The Detroit pain and hurt this week, off the charts.
Yeah.
Which leads me to this.
Okay.
We didn't know that Ben was short for Benedict. Ben Johnson.
Benedict Johnson.
Benedict Johnson stabs the city in the back. I mentioned him going to the Bears, my first
thing.
And then I
thought it'd be Raiders.
backtracked the next week. Like, there's no way he's going to a divisional rival. Not only did he go, this motherfucker was like, there's no place on earth I'd rather be than Chicago, a day after he lost and got out-coached. With all the expectations going for him, what are your feelings on the whole Ben Johnson situation over the past few days?
Yeah, well, he must have been in negotiations for it to happen so fast. And sometimes that happens, when coaches have some communication with another organization.
Where it's illegal, but there are things that are illegal, but they inevitably are happening all the time. Yeah.
So maybe Benedict wasn't doing as much preparation on the Washington game as he should have been. The other thing I think is, like, looking forward, dude, this is good for Caleb.
Yeah.
Like, Caleb's stock rose just a little bit.
Well, Jaden has two real rivals.
Okay.
Bo. Three then.
Okay.
That's his
you think
AFC
that's a good one?
rival. That's
Okay. Okay.
Jalen is now just an iconic matchup. They're in the NFC Championship game. First chance. We got 5 to 10 to 15 more years of these guys.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Why wouldn't they be in the conference championship every single year?
Yeah, they potentially could be.
So, they almost have similar names.
Yeah.
They do have similar skill sets.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sorry, different skill sets, though, I think.
But kind of similar.
They're pretty different.
Yeah, I would say Jaden's got an edge.
Yeah, Jalen's one of the best game managers in the game.
Yeah.
I'll give him that.
They can both scramble. That's probably the similarity.
But just a brilliant rivalry. They're both
same division.
Intense men of God. Just like the most upstanding American citizens you can be. Like, you can't love those two guys enough just as human beings.
Yeah.
Unlike a Mahomes. There's that. There's AFC Bo Nix, who he had to brush off his shoulder several times.
You're not winning the Rookie of the Year, pal.
And then the third, why am I blanking today?
Caleb.
Yeah, Caleb. Yeah. And this helps with that rivalry a little bit.
It will. Yeah.
The Hail Mary began the lore of Jaden versus Caleb. The fact that it was such a turning point for both teams.
It was.
Like, in a most unbelievable way. So I like the rivalry factor. I just want to say, though, too, our badass white boys quarterbacks this playoffs, Herbert, Goff, Darnold.
See ya.
Rough season for the badass white boys.
It has been. Wow. I didn't think about that. Good point.
Baker. All of them. They all got crushed.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, Will Howard and Ohio State won the national championship. Can someone explain to me why Cam Ward and Shadur Sanders are like the guys to go get in the draft from the quarterback spot, but Will Howard's like projected to be a 3rd or 4th round pick? He's big. He can run. He was a Big 12 Player of the Year at Kansas State. He transfers to Ohio State, leads them to a national championship, played great in the Natty. Like, if you're a general manager, how are you not going, okay, this guy's projected to be a 3rd and 4th round pick?
Well, remember McCarthy last year was projected to be a 2nd or 3rd rounder, but
went higher.
People talk is like, okay, actually,
get the combo going on Will overall. Howard.
Yeah, to me, those things are above my pay grade.
Totally.
I don't know what goes into the analysis of that college to NFL.
True.
And it probably changes all the time what goes into that analysis. So.
Yeah. They've got a lot of footage and, there's intangibles. Anyways, just the white quarterback had me thinking about Will Howard. Like, dude, put some respect on Will Howard's name. That's mine this week.
We covered the 2 Saturday games from last week.
Yes, we did.
Let's move to Sunday.
Ooh.
I have a huge fucking rant coming. Yeah, okay.
Incoming.
So be prepared.
Rant loading.
I don't want to tip the scales on how much I'm talking this pod though. So
You're
let's talk Eagles Rams. LA goes into Philadelphia. I mentioned this maybe being a potential magic season in the NFC where we have LA with their story, and then the Washington meeting in the conference final
almost came to fruition.
Almost happened.
Yeah.
I'm pretty bummed that it didn't.
Yeah.
Not because I'm terrified of Philly, but
yeah,
I probably would have dropped way too much money to go to LA and watch that game. But
it's good for your bank account.
Game-wise, so again, what are your biggest takeaways from that game?
Oh, unbelievable. The weather was fascinating, added an interesting element to the game. I saw an NFL Films clip. It's about like a minute long, the slow motion of Saquon breaking it to the outside and rushing 78 yards. And they put some of their epic NFL Films music to it, and it gives you chills.
Yeah.
Running in from 20 to 30 yards out, firing up the crowd, banging his hand on his helmet. It was just an epic play, and I think one of the more memorable plays of this postseason. Philly's going to do what they do. They're going to try and control the line of scrimmage. They're going to try and control the time of possession. They're going to lean heavily on their run game. Jalen Hurts, I think, is a big question mark moving forward now. He looked a little banged up. He only threw, or I should take that back. In the 2 postseason games they played, he's averaged 92.5 passing yards.
Insane.
They're not throwing the ball at all. So that's interesting. They did sack Stafford 7 times, so they got after the Rams O-line, but the Rams defensive line got after Hurts, so that was interesting. We'll see if Washington can get after Hurts like that. But those are kind of my takeaways. Just the trenches. Philly did everything they could to try and handle that area, and I think they did it well. And they ran the ball. Barkley's run for 354 yards in 2 playoff games this year. It's insane.
Which I don't really understand schematically for the opposing defenses. Like, Hurts isn't throwing. Are we not just loading the box with 8 guys? Like,
True.
I don't know. So, I mean, Dan Quinn is a defensive-minded coach. I trust that he's going to have a good scheme.
Yeah.
You would think that it's a pretty big advantage if Hurts also now banged up.
Yeah.
Which means maybe I don't know, what is the bang? Is it his ankle or knee or something? Is it lower body or upper? Do you know?
I think it's lower body.
Okay, so
to me it felt like a knee or an ankle.
So that should be a pretty big advantage. The Rams, if that game is played in a dome, I think the Rams definitely could have won. Some of those turnovers in cold weather are because of the cold weather.
True.
And I get that it's equal opportunity. They're
Right.
both playing the same conditions. I get it. But
yeah.
It should I do my rant now?
Go for it.
Okay. It is the dumbest thing in the world for cold weather cities to not have domes.
Yeah.
It'd be one thing if, like, the cold weather was at the beginning of the season. So we're playing week 1, week 2, week 3 games in the snow. Okay, that's fun because the aesthetic is beautiful.
Okay.
Fans like to see that. It's awesome.
Okay.
And again, even playing field, whatever. The fact is it reduces the potential skill of the teams significantly, depending on how severe the weather is.
Yeah.
If it's really snowy, if it's rainy, you can't do certain things.
Yeah.
The fact that we play the most consequential games in conditions that diminish the skill of the teams is the stupidest thing in the world. We look at Minnesota and Detroit having domes. Like, of course they have domes because of the weather. Then why the fuck doesn't Buffalo?
Yeah.
Why the fuck doesn't every Northeast team and Midwest team? Like, there's some borderline ones like Washington maybe or Kansas City. It's like, okay, but like, it's just, the fact that cities pay for these fucking stadiums too.
Yeah.
That we're running this insanely wealthy organization for these cold weather teams to now play the most important games where we don't get to see the real skill on skill competition. I dealt with this when I played in the championship game for Chico High against Enterprise, right? Just beat PV in the semis. We got this senior year. We definitely can beat this Enterprise team. We're better than them. We go to Chico State, this much mud. So it's just that's high school. It is what it is. But like, why are we playing the most consequential games in bad weather? I don't understand it. There's no excuse for it, to be honest. Think of the Super Bowl. Do we hold the fucking Super Bowl in cold weather? No, because it would ruin the game. But we can do the championship game? Make it make sense, NFL. Yeah. That's my rant.
No, it's a good rant. It's like part of the Joe Mazzulla approach this week, too, is like change the rule. You know, like play it in better conditions. I like the theater that it adds. I think it adds another layer of drama to it that makes it more entertaining as a fan at times.
Right, but that's like, you know, the Roman Coliseum battles are more entertaining because one of the guys has a fucking tiger wrapped around his leg or something. Like it's more entertaining.
No, I get you. I understand. I understand both sides for sure. I was just thinking as you were mentioning that, you mentioned that the cities own the stadiums. Is it up to the owners then? Like, does Buffalo say to themselves, like, we want to play all our home games in this freezing cold temperature because we feel like it gives us an advantage?
And the cities, by the way, they don't own. There's plenty of articles you can look this up on, and I'm not an expert in how this works, but the cities don't own the stadium.
Oh, I thought
they just they get grants. Or whatever they're called. From the local states or cities or whatever. So they still own the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's a really controversial thing, actually.
Okay.
There's some great pieces done on this. Maybe I'll include a link in the description. But
yeah,
it drives me nuts. You know, we had, because usually the counter. Well, most people, even like some of the smartest friends I have, are like, no, I love it. I love it.
I do too. I like it.
But like the other counter from the not so smart people is like, this is real football and the wind and the rain and the snow. It's like, this is how we've always done it.
That's a good thought because it's traditional. It's pure.
I'm just anti-tradition.
I know. I understand your perspective.
Smarts, yeah.
I get that. But I do think there's sort of a nostalgic element of playing football in the fall, outdoor with your buddies, and it's cold.
You're
bundled up. I know. You're sliding on frozen grass in the Midwest.
Just the fact that we will never have a Super Bowl in that condition, that tells you everything you need to know.
Well, I was thinking about that. I feel like there has been one or two recently. Mostly now they're in domes or they're in places where weather's not going to factor in.
Well, they have been like back to like Montana's Niners. They were playing in domes for that reason. There have been a few outdoors. There's the Patriots Giants game that broke up the Patriots undefeated season.
Levi's Stadium. There's Broncos Panthers was outside. But it was a nice night.
Broncos Seahawks was also outside. But you know they're obviously going to do it in warm weather areas.
Yeah, they're going to try to. I wonder. We should look that up. Like, when was the last Super Bowl that was played in, like, less than ideal weather conditions?
Unless it was, like, 1968.
It had to be, like, in the 70s or the 80s.
Maybe never. Oh, well, yeah, because before domes were...
before domes. Yeah. But since then, I wonder if there's ever been one. It'd be interesting.
I just want, like... The Washington-Detroit is a perfect example. We got to really see who those teams are.
Right.
So
it was a great game with
what are we doing? Like we play all year to get to this point, and now it's fucking we're playing at 75% of our ability. Like what are we doing?
Well, I mean, for all the conspiracy theorists out there, why don't we just manipulate the weather on this?
Yeah, let's not get started there.
No cloud seeding.
Slow down, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Slow down.
You're not
Marjorie Taylor Fields.
I will walk off this podcast if you call me that again.
Oh, I can't wait till we get a special effects guy. You're gonna have to come up with some illustrations. Okay. Philly, LA.
Dude,
shout out Sean McVay, Matt Stafford. They're awesome.
Yeah, dude.
The whole team is awesome. Defense was awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing how when that Barkley run happened, it was like game over. They're up 2 scores now. There's 4 minutes left. And literally it came down to like the Rams knocking on the door potentially with an opportunity
in the red zone,
right? In the red zone. Yeah. I mean, the fact that they hung in there and they completed some deep balls and they got they They pass the ball much better than the Eagles. They deserve a lot of credit.
And that's what I'm saying about the weather conditions. You got the passing teams. Like, in a dome, I feel like they come back in that game.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. They win that game probably.
Yeah.
Because Hurts has not been passing the ball well, and he doesn't look right.
And Stafford had, I think, 2 big turnovers.
He did.
They were pretty weather related, I'd say.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
Right? Slippery. Lamar's turnover.
Yeah.
I mean, all those things they're a little weather related, but that's fine. That's not even what I'm talking about. It's a bigger picture. With
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay. Let's. I think. Are we ready for Baltimore Buffalo, the game of the year?
Yeah, we sure are. Poor Mark Andrews, man. Do you think that pass could have been better?
No.
I think it could have been a little higher.
Yeah, but that was the easiest catch in the world.
Yeah. Right after he fumbled, too. What a rough second half for Mark. He hasn't even addressed the media yet. Poor guy.
I mean, I can't imagine. I think about that a lot. I think anybody that, whether you're like an actor on stage or you're a musician on stage or you're an athlete, anything that has a crowd, that gets up into like the hundreds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what that does to your psyche, like, I'll never forget that factor of it when I played in high school. Some people don't even notice it. Others that maybe are more like empaths, you're just aware of their surrounding. It's like, it's a big deal. I'm on a stage now, right? People are watching me.
Yeah.
And you really have to kind of sometimes go, there are sports psychologists that sometimes people need for things like this, right?
Totally.
So you don't let external factors psych you out and you're just completely focused.
Yeah.
It never became like a problem for me. I was just kind of aware of it. But what I would always think about is like, people take for granted like how much you can embarrass yourself.
Yeah.
If you don't come through in that, or if you really mess up in that moment, like at high school, it's still going to be thousands of people in town.
Yeah.
But on this stage, it's like millions and millions of people.
Dude.
So just from Mark Andrews' perspective, like I couldn't.
Yeah, feel for the guy.
People are treating him like, show him, like, give him some love. He needs fucking love right now.
So true, man. I couldn't imagine like having a super clutch moment of any sporting event, like games on the line and not coming through, or like missing a game-winning 3 in Game 7 of the NBA Finals and then never winning a championship and knowing for like the rest of your life that was your shot, dude. Like how hard it would be to live with something like that, man. So true.
Yeah, and I don't want to be like too morose about it, but some people, like, dude, it could fuck you up.
It would fuck me up
badly.
Yeah.
Like depending on how you are psychologically, I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty dark, honestly. It is. And it was such a bummer because like we had OT sitting right there.
Yeah,
like
we
would have been
did.
classic. Big takeaways outside of Mark Andrews from that game for you.
Well, Baltimore, it's kind of a fitting end to the season for Baltimore in an interesting way.
We forget that they lost to the Browns and Raiders this year.
Right. And
I kept saying it all year.
They were over-ravened, is what you were saying.
Ended up being favored in the game.
Yeah. But it wasn't, to me, it wasn't necessarily that they were over-ravened. What it came down to was that, like, they shot themselves in the foot a good amount this year. And I think, again, that reared its ugly head in a very important moment. That they had a chance and they just couldn't quite come through. Or that, like, you could make an argument that they played better than Buffalo. I believe they outgained Buffalo significantly on offense.
Like Houston did to KC.
Yeah, they just turned the ball over 3 times, so they shot themselves in the foot, and they couldn't convert.
Well, the Lamar fumble where he like
it was a weird
kept
play.
Going. Did Buffalo score on that play? I forget.
I don't know if they scored on the play.
Was that a pick? Was that a fumble 6?
No, I don't think so. But I think they brought it back significantly deep into Ravens territory and then converted either 3 or 7. But
okay.
I think it led to points.
Sorry, I wish I would have known that, but because that felt like the pivotal play.
Yeah, it was a backbreaker.
So Andrews, in one sense, Lamar gets some grace because we knew the loser of this game was just going to be like, fucking again, like this guy can't win again. And it was inevitable, and that's a little unfair because at the end of the day, you know, these guys got to play each other in the Final Four, Final Eight, or whatever.
Right.
But that Lamar fumble, man, kind of fit the narrative, playoff narrative.
Playoff Lamar. Yeah.
So,
yeah, he was not happy in the postgame talking about turnovers and we need to take care of the ball, and it's just little things.
End of the day, it's just playoff losses are fucking brutal.
Yeah.
This was my take with the Orioles this year. I wasn't used to this, and when it happens, it's just like, oh god, this sucks, dude.
Yeah, you're a Baltimore Orioles fan. Do you have love for the Baltimore Ravens?
No, I mean they're the Browns.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, this is they're the Browns.
Yeah. They
and the Browns
The Browns are new, but they're the Browns. Yeah. And
that happened well after I lived here. So I do think about this sometimes, like, oh wait, I should be rooting for this team, but
yeah, like I'm a normal fan. I like all teams from the North Bay area that like I grew up watching.
Hey, shots fired at where I was born.
No, dude, not at you directly.
I was born in D.C. for the record. If someone doesn't know.
Kings fan. Where did that come from?
We didn't talk about this yet?
Probably did.
I came out at 7, and I just wasn't into basketball yet.
Okay.
So I wasn't a Bullets fan yet. They were the Bullets back then.
And then you saw Mike Bibby and Chris Webber and Vlade and Bobby Jackson and Peja. You were a big Hito Turkoglu guy.
I got the jersey, baby.
Yeah, you were.
I'm going to be wearing that thing on a pod soon.
Hito's a baller. He had some good years with the Magic, too.
I also wasn't like a basketball player. Despite my frame and stuff, I was just always baseball, football. So I was kind of just basketball wasn't my thing when I was a kid.
Manute Bol didn't do it for you on the Washington Bullets or Calbert Cheney.
The Bullets, dude. Bernard King, baby.
Yeah, dude, good one. Probably the most famous.
Okay, those are
Rossfield
recaps.
leading us off on a tangent. God darn it.
That's what podcasts are. It's one long tangent. Okay, we covered the 4 games. I got a couple bullet points up there. I did a little clip on the Cowboys and how now they're the only NFC team that hasn't made the conference championship since 2010. But I think they haven't made it from well before that.
Wow.
I don't know why 2010 was even a number. What I heard was that the Cowboys are closer to the moon landing when they made a conference championship than to now.
That's a hell of a stat and a way to put it.
Yeah.
Was the moon landing real?
Are we? We technically don't know. We look up in the sky. We're told what it is from the scientists.
I'm just gonna.
How do we not know? It's just a never mind.
I'm just gonna keep you in check with like various conspiracy theorist ridiculous bombs on this pod.
Oh, the firmament.
If you call me Marge, that's what I gotta do.
It's such a serious thing, though, in this country. Anyways, debate. When it should
is the world round?
Let's stop going there. Okay.
Earth, world, universe, solar system. Are we in a black hole? Okay.
Well, we can talk about quantum computing and how it discovered how it proved parallel universes. But
okay. I just watched Interstellar the other night.
For the first time?
Like the third time. Amazing.
Check out stuff on quantum computing. It's good to, like, we hear about is AI. That's some really fascinating stuff that won't be boring.
Okay. Nerd alert. I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's important right now. More important than AI, honestly.
Cool.
We covered Mahomes' character. The Eagles, they're just, okay. Another Eagles take.
Okay. Hot Eagles take.
They just break big runs when they score.
Yeah.
Outside of that, they do nothing.
Yeah.
So you shut down the big run.
They play good defense.
No problem. No, I'm saying offensively.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right. I mean, they haven't passed the ball very well at all. It's been so crazy that their star wide receiver is literally just unamused sitting on the bench reading.
But they're not even like really marching down the field and scoring. They literally are breaking big runs when they score every time.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Well, 30 plus, right?
I think it's kind of like their philosophy, though, that we'll, 3-4 yards, 3-4 yards, 3-4 yards, boom, break one, 3-4 yards. Like, that's how they kind of are operating. They're just going to wear you down. I think Saquon somewhere was talking about how, like, their whole running game philosophy is to not break any big runs the first half, because like almost like to deliberately just continue sort of chewing up 3-4 yards of play in order to like break down the defense and the linebackers to get them kind of, just not as tough, sort of just a little less physical, and then break the big ones in the second half. Like they deliberately try and do that.
That's old school football. That's
is.
what John Riggins and the Washington Redskins were doing when they won a Super Bowl back in 83, 84.
Doug Williams at the QB spot?
Well, Doug Williams was 87, so Riggins was even before that.
Who was the QB that year?
It might have been it was Theismann. I don't think Jay Schrader came after that, but
sick. Joe Theismann.
80s Redskins were
the Hogs.
We're lore. We're getting back there. Since, this is such an important topic now, this politically correctness and how we're kind of reversing all this stuff with Trump, right? And the kind of like the white voice now is like, it feels like they feel like they're regaining. It's very tribal and fucking, it's kind of disgusting and stuff. But my point is, things like, we changed the name of the Redskins, all those topics, right?
Yeah.
That are really important to Trump voters. It's like, we need to go back to the Redskins. And we need to, be able to say this and that, right?
Rescind the DEI push.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, DEI, by the way, merit, like, the people Trump appoints have the least merit ever. So that DEI stuff's bullshit. Yeah. Okay. But my question to you is sports related.
Okay. Yeah.
Sports, political a little bit. What do you think about, like, J.J. Watt was on McAfee and like this big video about like, well, what do we call the Redskins when we talk about them in the past, and like, you're not allowed to say it. I'm still going to say it, and I'm a huge progressive. I'll say that word. Do you think that it shouldn't be said? Where do you stand? Or do you think it's just not your business and let other people sort it out?
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I mean, I don't care, I guess.
Right, and that's
like,
I don't
know.
It's like the biggest fucking issue in the world for guys like J.J. Watt. Like, we got, like, that's like issue number one instead of these very massively important political issues. Pronouns and being able to say this.
Yeah. I guess I'm naive in that, like, I don't have enough knowledge or understand enough as to like if someone were to call them, I don't know, the Redskins or the Commanders, like enough to just be like, oh my gosh, you're so disrespectful. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm like, I don't want to act like I'm educated in an area where I feel like it's sensitive and fragile. And if I do act like I'm educated, I'm going to say something stupid.
Well, I think, but this is, I think what I want to get at is like, you prioritize what's important and what isn't when it comes to a debate or an argument or whatever. And it's just so fucking
silly.
unimportant.
Yeah, dude.
It is, and I mean that in terms of like, we have to revert it back. Like, who cares if it's called the Commanders? And you see it from like kind of that type of Redskins fan too online. Like, I only call them the Redskins still. It's like, okay, like nobody gives a like, shut up, dude.
Yeah.
Like, just to make it this like big political issue, or like if you call them the Commanders, you're
snowflake.
Yeah. It's like,
no, you know what's...
No, I think you're actually a fucking petulant child if
it
you refuse to... Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Agree. You know what's funny? I did a story back when I was working for the news when Calusa name changed. And
Hamilton never changed their name, by the way.
Yeah, they didn't. But it was... I had to go down there. It was a controversial story. There were people who were like, we're ruining the tradition of the school. And then there were people who were like, well, we need to respect indigenous people and the tribes and the land of, Native Americans that once lived here. And it was like, it's the same, just clashing. And it's just like, yeah. And I just remember like driving home that day going like, this is what we're spending our time like being concerned about. Like,
exactly.
I gotta report this story tonight. Like, this is tough. Like, I'm gonna end up upsetting a group of people, and like totally without meaning to, and just trying to deliver the facts about what's going on, and saying that this school's like changed their name, but of course the news director and the executive producer are like, you need to get interviews from people from both sides. So then you're like, naturally like stirring the pot because somebody's like, this is BS. I can't believe they're changing it. And the other person like, I'm so proud of this like school for changing. And you're just like, oh gosh, like, dang, this is tough.
I mean, I think that conservatives in particular they get emotional about it because it speaks to something deeper and kind of a way that society works or whatever, like policing language, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
my thing is, if pronouns and fucking sports team names are like the thing that upsets you the most in this country, you're lost, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you need to fucking reprioritize what you care about. And anyways,
bro, I get both sides of it though. Like, I get the traditional element of it too. I mean, there was a lot of history with the Washington Redskins. They won Super Bowls. You know, it'd be upsetting if you're rocking some like Redskins jerseys or some Redskins gear that's got the name Redskins on it, and now they've changed their name to the Commanders. That's a little like, do I got to upgrade my wardrobe? There's some things about it.
I do both.
Yeah. No, I
like
feel you.
It's like, this isn't important. I'm gonna say the Redskins when I'm referring to the time when they were the Redskins. I'm gonna say the Commanders now. This isn't fucking hard.
Yeah.
So, all that said, I'm kind of agreeing with JJ Watt. Yeah, call them the Redskins, dude.
Yeah,
nobody fucking cares.
Right, nobody cares. And yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, I feel like what JJ Watt is saying though is that nobody should care, and we cared enough to change the name. Why did we do that? You know what I'm saying?
Which is, and when that's what I disagree with. Like,
okay,
let's play it fucking safe and change the name. It doesn't do anything to the past. It doesn't strip the past. Taking down statues of fucking Confederate generals, you can still fucking read about Confederate generals all you want. Yeah. Go nuts on your South fucking champion. So it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Symbolism. It's like,
I understand where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. I get it. I get both sides. You know, I'm neutral.
You need to run for fucking Congress, dude.
That would be a disaster.
By the way, so I'm friends with Audrey Denny, right?
Yeah, Audrey Denny, so nice.
I was running the Commons when she was running for Congress. Yeah, it actually has a ring to it.
It does.
And so we became kind of close there because I was just a little more in the community, physically, anyways, not just digitally, and got pretty close. And I worked with Mike Johnson a bit this year at City Council for District 1 that had
Speaker of the
uphill. Oh wow, same name. Never put those together. So, anyways, I care about local politics now as I get older, and I'm gonna be in those circles, and gonna start working with Audrey into February with, I think, a political action committee.
Cool, man.
I don't know if I should say this publicly, but whatever. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah. We'll see what the future holds.
Is she gonna come after LaMalfa again, or is this the conversation that we can't?
Not her, Ross.
Okay. Bryce? No. Oh. Okay.
No,
dude, breaking news on the AC.
Okay, we'll leave some little nuggets at the
Ben
end.
Johnson goes to Chicago.
Yeah.
New York Jets hire Aaron Glenn.
You. How do we feel?
Lions lost both their coordinators. How does
and
that
they lost
thing?
the first playoff game. They lost fucking everything.
They lost everything. How is Jared Goff ever going to recover, by the way?
I mean, they have Dan Campbell, who's one of the best coaches in football. I don't care. They're going to be there. They're going to win double-digit games every year as long as Campbell's there, in my opinion.
Yeah, dude. As long as Jahmyr Gibbs is there, my God.
How do we...
So good.
By the way, Ben Johnson, brilliant offensive mind.
Whoa.
Why weren't they fucking running? Benedict Johnson?
Well, okay, so I'm glad
why weren't they running every play, dude?
I'm glad you brought this up. Like, outside of Dan versus Dan and Dan Quinn sort of shoving Dan Campbell's philosophy right back at him, the other thing about that game...
The old Quinn fister.
The other thing about that game was the Lions got neutralized because Washington got out to a lead, even though they didn't score first. Like, it was 7-0. Then Washington got 7-3.
Yeah.
Then got 10-7 lead and pretty much led the rest of the way.
Right, they did.
And I think it kind of threw Detroit off a little bit, having to sort of like come from behind.
But that's not the sign of a great OC.
No. Okay, true.
But
it's also the sign of a team that it's not accustomed to being in that position. Yeah, and I think they were a little shell shocked.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Gotta be you obviously game plan every scenario.
Yeah.
Like I get that the human emotional.
Yeah.
Then that's what the playoffs are. They can instigate some panic that you don't experience otherwise until the playoffs.
Yeah.
For sure. I just don't know that bodes super well. I mean, there's a lot of people talking about this. There's the paradox of the great coordinator who loses in the playoffs off a poor playoff performance that then gets hired. So it's like they're always kind of going out on a bad note, technically.
Yeah. So
which happened with Dan Quinn last year with the Cowboys defense.
It's interesting.
So, you know, the real boneheaded thing was the receiver pass.
Yeah, I was just about to talk about this. Yeah.
I'm sorry, bro. I'm an OC for JV at a school of 500, and I would never fucking do that.
Okay, well.
That's...
Yeah.
It's just so blatantly the wrong thing to do.
That's their identity, though. Like, they've done that all season.
All right.
I think they didn't adjust accordingly. Like, so the Niners-Lions game.
Then coach the guy to not throw it if it's not wide open.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, think Jameson, definitely made a big mistake, and they probably went over that, and he did it anyway and effed up.
But that's an OC knowing that might not be the most trustworthy mind out there.
Yeah, totally. That was so strange. I remember thinking, like, what are they doing? But the Niners had a lead against the Lions in their game, and Detroit on 3rd and 12 ran the dopest hook and ladder where, like, Amon-Ra St. Brown caught, like, a 6-yard pass, pitched it to Jameson. He house called it. And I remember thinking, like, dude, if the Niners stopped them on that play, they very well could have won this game. No, I was talking about, like, when the Niners played the Lions. The Lions have been doing, like, trick plays all season long. And I think it comes at any time in the game when they're ahead or when they're behind. But maybe it's a bit more of a risk when you're in the position that Detroit was in this past weekend against Washington. It just didn't feel like the right time to call a trick play. I think that happened like in the second half, and it was like, I mean, it was just dumb.
It was. There was when Teddy Bridgewater came in after Goff got fucking rocked.
Yeah. When they
had the touchdown on the reverse, the double reverse. The Lions did as well.
Oh, that's right. They called a couple trickeries.
So it worked. And I mean, they scored with Bridgewater under center. That was interesting.
Yeah, and Jameson house called it.
Goff got fucked up on that.
He did.
Probably should have been a penalty. But that was like the cherry on top. Like, not only was it a pick six, we're just crushing them along the way. It was just like the most beautiful game.
Yeah, dude. It's so funny, too, like those moments when you see a quarterback just get rocked and his head just smashes the turf, and you're like, obvious concussion. And they, it's playoffs. It's a huge game. They go into the tent. I mean, do you think, like, at any point, is it actually, like, an honest assessment, and they're like, Jared,
for the
you
playoffs?
Can't play.
For the playoffs?
You've got a concussion, bro.
That's a tough one.
You know, like, we've had discussions about CTE. We were talking a little bit about Bobby Wagner. Like, I legit think that way more often than not, in a playoff game, in a scenario like that, where these dudes get rocked, they're like, yep, you've got a concussion. And it's like, well, I want to play. Okay, go back in the game. There's nothing we can really do.
There's always human error. Whatever rules we make, there's always going to be human beings behind them end of the day. So the concussion evaluation is supposed to be by an independent, or it's by an independent third party doctor.
Right, yeah.
So they're not supposed to be listening to what anyone says.
Sure.
End of the day, though,
yeah.
I mean, come on.
We know.
What goes on behind closed doors in this country? Jesus Christ.
It's just a fascinating conversation a little bit, but he did get rocked in Washington pick 6. That was sick play.
But look, Jaden has no turnovers.
Yeah.
They have, like, I want to say 1 punt or something.
Yeah.
And that's what he did to start the season. We weren't punting.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, oh, okay. This is way fucking different. He didn't have any turnovers for a while. Of course, he threw some picks throughout the season. No fumbles all year.
No way. I didn't know
all
that.
All year.
That's incredible.
So part of this, and, he got a little rib banged up a little bit, missed a game and a half.
Yeah.
But, when you're a running quarterback, and his whole dig on him was that he was going to be too small to run, too weak. It's the instinct. Like, would Jaden put himself in a position that Goff put himself in to get rocked? Like, no, he wouldn't.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just there's levels to this shit in terms of who's gonna get hurt, who's gonna fumble,
right?
All that. So
yeah, I think a little bit of the Goff walking up to Aaron Rodgers, going, "I want to learn more about you, ayahuasca," came out during that play. It was like, whoa, bro, what are you doing? Like, there's obviously 3 blockers in front of this guy, and you're like on the 3-yard line trying to potentially make a play. Obviously, you're gonna get rocked, dude.
Did we? I want to feel like we were talking about how the Stafford versus Goff or the Stafford Goff trade was really going to be decided this year.
Okay,
it wasn't.
Nope. Still, same thing. Still in limbo.
Well, Stafford got the chip, so
he owns it now.
He won that.
Yeah.
This was just a chance for Goff to get his to make it truly
was a little
even.
redemption. Nope, didn't happen.
No.
Stafford still got a leg up on him.
And the Rams did win a playoff game this year too.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're good. Oh, we haven't really done this. We're doing a very traditional pod today. It's actually been fun. I kind of like this, doing it like this. Predictions. What do we got? What's going to happen?
Well, dude.
Washington, Philadelphia.
I think, dude, and shout out to my bro, Casey, dude, my little bro. The man, dude. This guy's always got a really great perspective on things. Super successful financial advisor. Just really heady dude. And he was saying, dude, this year, it's Jaden versus Mahomes, and Mahomes is about to pass the torch. And I was like,
when did he say this?
Oh, like last week.
Okay.
And I was like, no way, bro. So I'm saying Washington's going to handle Philly, and I'm saying Kansas City's going to beat Josh Allen, and I'm thinking Daniels versus Mahomes for the Super Bowl championship, and we're going to see the young buck take down Mahomes and set a country on fire with excitement that the Chiefs finally lost.
Ross,
Casey Field.
I might have to cry on the pod right now because think about this.
Would that not be amazing though?
If it's Jaden v. Mahomes, Kendrick Lamar at halftime, and Jaden wins, I might just fucking die.